you may please start with the session.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vanda Sharma, for the very lightning and lengthy introduction about myself. So thank you also for the invitation from the organizer for the e-fdp, Unleashing Research Potential, Global Trends and Practice. I think this is a good way or a good kind of seminar or conference that we can have or we can share knowledge basically in terms of how to make it the research that what we have done potentially. Right. My title today, since I'm one of become as one of the speaker, so my title today actually I'm very glad to share with you regarding on how to increase our visibility of our research. Actually, it's not you but our. So meaning to say that we will cover not just yourself but also myself as well. So this is something that I want to share with you based on my experience that have gone through since I become as a lecturer and also and of course as a researcher after that, right? So can you see my slide so far, everyone? Dr. Sharma, can you see my slide? Hello, everyone, can you see? Right. Okay, everyone, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right, so as a learning outcome of today, as what we want to go through, I hope that by the end of this session, you should be able to, to motivate yourself with regard to the title of how to visible ourselves. In terms of how to increase our visibility of the research and to be aware of its importance of the research visibility effectively as a part of the purpose of research development and also as a part of promoting the research work to be, in the good of research for the benefit of community of practice. And also the last one, of course, once we have been visible, so they will support us or support the institution or our faculty in related to increase our visibility in order to improve our ranking based on the research visibility comprehensively. All right. Okay, these are the something that we are the item that I want to share with you by today. I will start by making the introduction of what do we mean by the research visibility, and then why we have to go for research visibility and its potency, and also the steps need to be taken in order to increase the visibility, and also the comprehensive technique. That is very important things that I want to share with you today. Actually, in terms of comprehensive technique for increasing visibility, the tool in improving the visibility of the research, and also, of course, the metric that have commonly being used for visible. Of course, in this case, I try to discuss in terms of each index. And also the next one, I will discuss about the issues and challenges in research visibility. And of course, the second last one, before we go for the Q&A, I will make the conclusion. All right? Okay, so far, Dr. Vanda, can you hear me? Everyone? So far, no problem, huh?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I proceed to the next slide? Okay, thank you. Right, so as before we start to look into in detail about the research visibility, so what do we mean by research actually? So this is something that we have to recall back to refresh by our mind. What is research? Of course, you learn more about research already, but to my ways, actually, I want to define the research as a process or step that to be that to be used in collecting and analyzing information. Now, since we are talking about information, of course, we want to analyze the information, and also we want to produce kind of new knowledge actually, right? So since we have the data, we have data, we process the data into information, and of course, from the information, we want to create something, create something new thing. So that's why in this kind of creating new thing of information, we call it as a new knowledge in terms of to understand based on the topic of topic that related to our research, or sometimes it's called as our issues, you know, the problem that we want to be used in order to solve the issues or the problem into the solution. So in order to come up with the research, normally this is the basic thing that we can post. You know, we can have 3 steps in the research normally. The first one, of course, we try to pose a question, meaning that we try to, based on the research problem that we have, we want to highlight what are the actual problem that we want to be, what are the questions that need to be solved. So that's why in the research problem that we want to translate into solution, we have to raise some of the questions. So normally the question, of course, they will come us, they can guide us how to solve the problem from the problem that we have into the solution that we want to be, to be contribute to the body of knowledge in research. And of course, besides we pose a research question, we need to, you know, in order to produce the solution, we need to do some sort of data collection. So that is the second step need to be done in order to complete or to complete our, you know, our research work. So that's why after we come up the research question, we need to do the data collection. So in terms of data collection, they can be, you know, primary and secondary data, right? So of course, I hope you understand what do you mean by primary, what do you mean by secondary. Normally, in the research environment, we start by looking for the secondary data first, because the secondary data actually is come from the literature review. So that's why we have to do the data collection in terms of data, in terms of secondary data. And then after that, we can go for experiment, for example, and also we can go for the primary data, right? So this kind of data actually can be done through questionnaire, or might be sometimes we are not going for the primary data in the actual work, but we can go for you know, simulation based. So this is a kind of data that we can be produced based on the simulation that we can be done. So of course, the data that we can be produced based on the research question that we have. That is the second step. The third step of the research that we have to be done, actually this is something related to what we want to talk about today. Meaning that we want to see in terms of how the result that we can make us, our research can be visible, right? So that's why in this case, we have to present. So once we talk about the presentation, so normally the presentation can be done through, you know, in order to answer our question, meaning that the result. So we need to present our result. So that's why in terms of the question that we have, we try to present the result that we have been done through the research work. So that's why once we do the presentation, so meaning to say that our, you know, our research can be more visible. So the presentation actually, of course, not just in the lab, but we have to go for outside, meaning that we have to go for published paper, meaning that in order to, you know, once we have the result of information, we have a kind of explicit result. So we have to document that, we have to publish that. So once we publish, so our community of practice, of course, they can get benefit. So that's why in this case, the research meaning or the research definition, we need to be understand clearly, because the process of visibility, they will reflect to the meaning of the research definition, right? Okay, so far, can you follow me? Everyone, so far, can you follow me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, may I request the chairman or the chairperson, can you open your video or not? Yeah, because I want to see your eyes contact. Yeah, everyone. Okay. Right. Next. So we have understand about the research, you know, definition already, but let's we go in detail to understand the research visibility. So in order to understand the research visibility, So let we try to define the researchability as the activities that aim to promote the research work increasingly important in the research work, meaning that we try, once we have the result, we have the finding of the research, we need to present. So since we do the presentation of the research, this is a kind of activity that we can promote our research to enhance the importance of our research, meaning that we can tell the others. So when the others accept our, our work or our result, so meaning that they try to appreciate. So when they try to appreciate, they will cite our work, right? So when they cite, so our meaning that our work will be more visible, and lastly, of course, they will increase our visibility, not just in the context of, internally, but also in the context of externally. So of course, once we talk about externally, they will reflect with the global, right? Globally. So by making your research visible and accessible to your research or to your work, they will increase chance of your research being noticed, meaning that to be used, not just by in use, but to also having the impact, the impact. So meaning that, so everyone might be used your work as a kind of point of departure, to do the further detail or to become as the future work. In the research work, normally people looking for the future work. Since we have done our work, they are looking for future work. So once they are looking for the future work, meaning that after that, what else we can contribute to the body of knowledge in the research work. So that is called impact, right? So thus increasing your own reputation and chance of the success in your academic work. This is, of course, when we talk about chances of the success of your academic work, meaning that they will increase yourself, they will increase yourself in terms of your career development, right? So that's why research availability actually is very important, not just for the purpose of ourselves, for career development, but also for the institution. I will discuss more after this, the purpose of why we have to go for research availability. Okay? Can I move to the next slide, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right. So why we go for visible? Yeah. Why we want to go for visibility of our research? So that's why we're looking for the importance. I highlight here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the importance of why you have to go for visible, right? So number one, the purpose of visibility actually is for internal promotion. This is, we reflect to ourselves as a researcher, right? This is for the purpose of ourselves as a researcher, meaning that we try to enhance, try to promote in terms of personal KPI. What do you mean by KPI? KPI stands for key performance indicator. So this is we see that how perform we are in the research. So that's why this is kind of KPI, right? So the first important of visible actually is to look in terms of internal promotion as a part of the personal KPI, right? I hope once I talk about KPI, everyone understand that, yeah? So as a researcher, we have the KPI, So I don't know what happened to your organization. In my organization, University Putra Malaysia, we have to come up with, since I am as a professor, I have to come up with 5 papers, right? 5 papers in order to publish for a year. That is my KPI. So the papers can be journal, can be proceeding, can be book in chapters, or can be magazine, or can be everything. Of course, the university looking for the first one, the high ranking one in publish, as a my KPI, of course, in the journal. So since we're talking about journal, there are a lot of journal. There can be citation journal, there can be JCR journal, right? So I hope you understand what you mean by JCR, yeah? Journal of Citation Report, meaning that we have to go for Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 normally, right? So these are the KPI of my, for the internal promotion as and personal KPI. That's number one. Number two, why we're looking for the possibility of the research, because we want to get fund, we want to acquire the grant. So that's why someone want to give you in terms of granting or fund, they are looking for how good are you, how visible are you. So that's why this is another kind of funding application actually. For the purpose of funding application, normally they will see about your performance in terms of researcher, right? So that's why visibility of your research actually is very important. Because when you create your environment, high visibility, so they will help you to get the funding, right? To get the funding. So once you acquire the fund, so of course, the funding application actually is more easier to get, right? That is the second one. The third one, of course, this is related to the benchmark. So we want to know where are we actually, right? We want to know where are we. When we talk about what we want to know where are we, so we want to make comparison, right? Between our work and between our colleagues, right? So somehow we want to know what they are doing, what we are doing. So that's why visibility actually is very important. Just to tell the people, to tell the world that, yes, we have been done completely about this one. And in fact, we have been patenting about this one. In fact, we have been copyright about this one. So we can promote in terms of IPR. You know what do you mean by IPR? Intellectual property right. In terms of trademark, in terms of patenting, in terms of copyright, and so on. Right? So that is number 3. Number 4, why visible of our research is important? Because we want to increase the personal and organizational ranking. That is talking about ranking. So that's why the purpose of the purpose of research visibility actually is very important to increase our institution of ranking. Now we're talking about ranking in the world in terms of QS ranking, right? In terms of THE ranking. So this is part of the ranking factors or the measurement factors of ranking. Of course, they are looking for visibility. So how do we know that? How do they know that our visibility? So I will talk about something after this related to the citation in terms of our well-known in the world and so on, right? So that's why in this case, to increase our personal and organizational ranking, they can see through the Google Scholars, and also the most important right now actually Google Scholars and Scopus. And of course, beside the Scopus, we have like WAS, World of Science and so on. All right, that is number 3. And number 4. Number 5, actually to increase trust. This is also another one. Since we are working for visible, so we want to work collaboration. We want to work as a team. Because once we work as a team, there are a lot of things we can be done. So that's why the trust actually of the collaboration of researcher actually is very important. How to create trust? So we can create through the how visible are we? How good are we in the international or national level? That is what we have been done in our university actually, in focusing about how do we make good in terms of research, right? To work together, not just for nationally, but we are looking for internationally, right? Okay, so far, can I move to the next slide, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
next one, these are the steps, how to make it visible. So these are the simple words that we can make ourselves visible. You can see from the reference over there. I just, I very interesting about, there are 6 steps we can make use, how to make sure that we can make more visible in our research. Of course, number 1, we have to discover something, right? We have to discover something, meaning that we have to find out something. Besides, we want to discover, we have to, once we discover something, to do something, discovery normally is something related to the issues that we want to be solved, right? So the ideas generation. So that's why we have to discover. So in order to get ideas, normally we have to go for some of the reading, some of the reviewing, sometimes you can see from the diagram, we have this research gate, for example. From the research gate, we can read from what others have been done, we can discover something. So once we can discover something, we can adventure something. So that's why we have to analyze After we discover, we analyze. After we analyze, we do writing. That is very important in order to visible our research. After we writing, we need to be published. You know, once we're talking about publish, they can be in terms of publication, in terms of sort of internally or externally. So that's why sometimes journal is very important. After that, after we publish, we can go for outreach. Outreach meaning that we go somewhere. It's something like we go for somewhere to present papers and so on. And the last one, we go for the assessment. We try to evaluate how good are we? How good are we? Right? So that's why in this case, we have to, you know, these are the steps that we can follow. Discover, analyze, writing, publishing, outreach, and the last one, of course, assess. So when we go to assess, we can see from here, we have a sort of journal, for example, and again, we can have research date, right? And then we can have something here is like clause 1 and many others like social site and so on. So this is a kind of how to evaluate ourselves actually, right? Right. The next one, these are the techniques. So there are many techniques in order to increase our visibility. I mentioned many times in terms of how to increase our visibility, right? So of course, the more popular one in terms of research visibility actually is through publication. So once we talk about publication, the most important thing is actually it's a journal. Besides the journal, of course, we are also produce a conference paper. We produce the book of chapters. And also, of course, sometimes we can produce the book, right? So these are the kind of publication. Besides the publication, in terms of how to make us visible, we can also talk, you know, based on the invitation talk, something like invited speakers, something like, you know, guests, something like to participate in the conference, for example. We can go for internationally and also sometimes not just going outside. So since the pandemic right now, maybe we want to stay locally, for example. This is called nationally, right? So the situation of the pandemic, so meaning to say that we just not, it is not just allow us to go for outside, but we can looking for inside, right? So but right now, there is no issues whether we can fly or not because we can go virtually, right? So that's why in this case, internationally actually can be done very easily right now, okay? Right, the next one, beside the publication, invited talk, we also have sort of collaboration. This is something like we do sort of visiting. We can have something like MOU or MOA, Memorandum of Understanding and Memorandum of Agreement. So these are the kind of collaboration that we can create our organization to be more visible, right? So that's why once we talk about visibility in terms of collaboration, we can make collaboration not just among us as a researcher in terms of academic matters. Sometimes we have to go for industries, you know, to go for industries. So this is another ways that we can look into, not just looking for the academic point of view, something like universities, we can go for industries. So once we define as industries collaboration, we can see internally and also we can see externally. It's something like IBM, you know, something like Microsoft, something like, I don't know whether you're aware or not, many others like Oracle, for example, right? We're talking about big data, right? We're talking about machine learning. We're talking about AI. So we can have a lot of you know, industries outside there. We can collaborate in terms of how to promote our organization in terms of visible, right? So beside that, as a researcher, we can also have sabbatical leave. So this is a kind of intensive of research that we can be done, right? That we can be done, right? So we can enhance our visible based on the sabbatical leave and so on. And of course, the last one, as I mentioned to you earlier, in order to make sure that our you know, our work has been recognized nationally and internationally, we have to do in terms of copyright. This is something like IPR, intellectual property right. We can do in terms of patenting to show that yes, we have been done something. You know, we have been done about something. So of course, we have to, to keep our right. So we can make, in terms of copyright, we can do patenting, and of course, we can do trademark and so on. Something like industrial design and so on. Okay. So these are the techniques that we can use in terms of how to increase our visible. Okay. Besides the technique, we have tools. There are a lot of tools that we can use right now. You see, of course, we can make use social media, for example. We can make use Mendeley, for example. We can use academia. So these are the kind of tools that can help us. Of course, the most popular one, we can have research guide, for example, research guide, and we can have Facebook, we can have LinkedIn, we can have, video like YouTube, open access, and then we can have ORCID, open resource, right? So these are the something that we can have to promote, how do we can collaborate in terms of based on our researcher, okay. Right, so these are the tools. I'm sure that you are aware about this kind of tool. Okay, you can see from here, for example, in order to collaborate, officially or unofficially, we can have research gate, we can have Facebook, we can have blog. The blog actually is another kind of collaboration or a kind of visible that we can promote. It's something like we publish what we can put in the blog, so everyone can refer to to our work actually, what we have been done and so on. Okay, right. So these are the prominent metric of index for visible. So I'm sure that most of you are aware about this. So the most popular one in terms of how to see that our visible of our work in terms of the research, we can see in terms of their Scopus index, Scopus index. And we can see in terms of Google index. And of course, right now we have WOS index, World of Science index. So in terms of Scopus, for example, you can see something like this. Of course, the most important thing is here, right? The number of citations that of what we have been done or what we've been, produced in terms of documentation, right? So if you can see from here, for example, for myself, based on the 2 days or 3 days ago, I have each index 15, meaning that based on 149 documents that has been produced, so I have each index 15, right? So the most contribution to the the knowledge or the topic that has been produced based on my research actually is more on knowledge management practice, knowledge based system, and learning organization. And the 6 document in terms of contribution of the body of knowledge, I contribute to the body of knowledge in terms of the theory of TAM, right? TAM meaning that technological sector model, mobile payment, and also in the kind of e-learning. And also I produce some of the knowledge sharing in terms of personal and also social exchange theory. So these are the most topic that that has been produced by myself actually based on the Scopus index, right? So these are the number 1. Number 2, I also have a lot of some of the publication or some of the document that have been produced is not in the Scopus, because the Scopus actually they try to see in terms of they claim that they want to be produced in the high quality index. So normally, even though we write something, we put in the Google. So in the website, the Google will be indexed, right? So you can see, for example, for myself, for each index for me actually is 25, based on 2,596 citations. And then at the same time, for I10 each index, meaning is I10 meaning that there are 78 documents from that has been produced by myself. Actually, has more than 78 documents. Right, so meaning to say that my tendency to increase the index is very high, right? Right. So these are the Google, the second one. The third one actually, of course, very very competitive to be published in terms of WAS, World of Science. So in this case, so we talking about the Pablo index, for example. Okay, from in the Pablo in the World of Science, for myself actually is equal to 10. So and the related publication that has been recognized in the world of science for myself actually is 110. So there are 349 total time cited, right? Meaning that based on my publication of 1 or 10, so HNet is 10 and verified view actually is 17, right? They come and see me and ask me, how do you think, and something that meaning that they want to do something for my knowledge. So these are the third thing in terms of how to measure the in terms of creating that based on the visibility that we have, right? So the last one, before I end my presentation, I want to share about the issues, right? Okay. One more thing before we go for at the end of the issues. So you can see the World of Science actually is a very good platform. We can notify where is our citation of our papers actually come from, other countries like, South of American, for example, right? From the African, yeah, from Southeast of Asia, Middle East, or something like India, for example, yeah. We can see from here. So, and also Australia. So there are a lot of papers on my papers actually, of course, at somewhere in the Southeast of Asia, and followed by this is South of Korea, like Japan, 80, Southeast of Asia, 188. Of course, maybe this is very close to my country, and like Indonesia, and also followed by Australia and US, right? Europe, okay, and UK, and some of the you can see that maybe my paper actually is not set yet in the Russia. Maybe since I am using more on the language of English, maybe one day I have to translate my publication into Russian language. Maybe they can go go to the Russia later on. Yeah, right. So these are the index that I have been gone through. Okay, so these are the issues and challenges in the research visibility, right? So there are a lot of issues. So the issues actually that I try to highlight here actually is based on 5W1H, right? 5W1H meaning that what, where, when, how, and who. So that's why in this kind of issues and in terms of visibility, so we have to talk about, tell people about your work. That is the issues that we have to go through. How, why, and the most importantly, how do you want to tell the people? Of course, we have to publish. And how to maximize discoverable of your work, right? Meaning that in terms of research, we have to talk about future work, right? And then we plan the best way to share the work. That is also another kind of issues that we have to be considered. And share what is has been relevant. That is also another one. Okay, the next one in terms of language, right? The issues of language. So that's why, as you can see from here, some of my publication is not here actually. Since what? Since maybe in Russia, Kazakhstan, or Mongolia, or in China. Maybe they are not able to paper because since about the language, right? Okay, and then build persistent profile. This is another one. So how do we want to keep our file profiling better and better, right? Of course, we have to come up with a blog. We have to come up with a website. And of course, Google, for your information, they are promote site, right? They are promote site. And then we have to remove barrier to access of your work. Sometimes we have to go for open access rather than to restrict access. Open rather than restrict. That is another way to make sure that our research is invisible. And you use your IR, your intentional repository. That is another kind to make sure that you are not just growing by yourself, but you're growing through your organization. So UPM, my university, we have IR, right? So you can go for UPM IR actually to see what's happening in our university, right? And of course, the next one, attend the conference. This is another way how to to make visible. This is the challenge to go for the conference. It's not easy actually. Yeah. because we have to spend a lot of money, to spend a lot of time, and so on. And every social media discussion, this is another one, something like what we did by today, right? And then complete your online profile. This is also another one. This to make sure that your profile are up to date. Up to date. It's not so easy, but you have to do that, right? And explore the ability of the support and training. That is another one. And the most important one is you have to go this one. Sign your team up to help with sharing. This is another one. Everything that we have to do, we have to share. Because two heads is better than one. That is the purpose of why we're looking for the sharing. Because we want to make sure that something that have been produced is very quality one. Since I'm talking about to you just now, two heads is better than one, right? Two heads is better than one. So meaning to say that something that we work collaboratively, something that we have been shared, actually is very good one, right? In other words, in Arabic, they call it is we are working in jama'ah, jama'ah, right? The next one actually is trust. How do we want to create the trust? How do you want to create the trust among our colleagues? That is to talk about their work actually. The trustee actually is very important because once we been trust, meaning that the level of confidence, the level of reliability actually is very high. So we can make easier to work together as a team, right? And of course, the next one is the issues of reward. Incentive. That is very important. Reward people who discuss their work. So we can. That's why in certain institutions like our university, somehow or sometimes we are given, opportunity to once we publish in Q1 and Q2, we are given incentive actually. Given incentive like reward. So the more we publish, the more we gain from the reward from the university. That is a kind of incentive, right? And we build up, the reward also is something like promotion, So that's why in terms of promotion, we increase from associate professor or senior professor to associate professor to professor. We are looking for their, publication or contribution. So that's why reward actually is very important. And we build people confident. This is very close to the trust that what we have right now. And also track how industry partners apply to your work. This is another kind. Once we go for the patenting, since we are do R&D, we are not just going R&D. We have to go for R&DC. C stand for what? Commercialize. That is very important. That is another issue that we have to go to make sure that how good are we in terms of research visibility. Some of the research work have been commercialized. And the last one, beside the commercialized, of course, we want to go for R&DCE. E stand for entrepreneurship. Meaning that we want to make sure that we can become as a company later on. Yeah. So next one actually think and work co-actively. Yes. Working together and then facilitate interaction between department. Yes. It's something like we worked together before. Invest in outreach. This is something like collaboration. How we can make collaborate, meaning that we don't want to be success internally, but we want to be success externally, meaning that not just local but globally. It's something like what you have been done by today. It's very good actually, right? And include communication people in project, plan, outward, facing staff position, and set outreach goal and deadline, and have a clear project contact. These are the kind of issues and the challenge that need to be done since we want to promote kind of a research visibility. Okay? Right. The last one as a conclusion. So in terms of visibility of your research or our research, it is very important, especially in ensuring that our research will be contributing to the body of knowledge as well as to be sustained of its relevancy. You know, relevancy is very important. And also there are many ways of techniques that can be used in order to, you know, in order to sustain. So there are many techniques that can be used. So we can make use in terms of to produce the papers and make it collaboration among the researchers of the COP. And besides that, it is also will ensure that the researcher will get more advantage for their career development, not for the purpose of personally, but also to promote their organization internationally, locally, and internationally based on the ranking, right? So that's why the last one, we want to improve international ranking of the organization since we are going for research visibility for the future impressively and expressively. With that, so I think that's all. These are some of the reference. So we go for Q&A. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So I open to Q&A, question and answer.
Thank you, sir.
I couldn't see you. Can you open your video, please?
No, sir, I'm Anamika Pandey. Now, I request all the participants, if you have any question from sir, because yes, that your session was very informative, sir. Because it's very important today is how to increase the visibility of our research work. Because all the citation and everything is dependent on this. So I request participants, you can put your query in chat box. Chat box is enabled.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sir, can you tell me what is the relationship between SJR and impact factor? SJR and impact factor.
Yeah, and SGRM, impact factor. Yeah, that is a kind of, this is a kind of the publication actually. So normally we're looking for Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, right? So to me, actually, if you can go for the Scopus one, actually, it's also a very good one already, right? Because they are trying to maintain the quality of work, right, in terms of research. Okay, can I answer your question?
Okay, any other question? Any other question from anyone? Now I request Professor Balamurgan to present the vote of thanks to Professor Rusli. Bala sir, please join.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Professor Galgotias, on behalf of Galgotias University, and each slide and was very informative, and we really enjoy this 1 hour session of yours. So hope we do collaborate in our future. And thank you for the interview coming to Galgotias University, Professor Rusli Abdullah sir. Thank you, sir. Nice
Thank
meeting.
you. Thank you. Okay, with
Over
that,
to Anamika.
thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, sir.
You can see my.
And
yeah.
I'm so sorry, like we had to reschedule your session today. And but yes, we are highly grateful that you are able to take the session today. Now I request all the participants to fill the feedback form so that we could further share with the sir as well for this session. And we will be inviting sir for other sessions as well. I hope, sir, you will join us in future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now we end this meeting, and if there is any question, still we have a time. You people can put this in chat box. All the participants, the last chance. So feedback form is shared and everybody please share it. Rusli sir, thank you so much. Now we are ending this session. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
very much,
everyone.
everyone. See you again. So I'm very happy to get to to present together with you all today. Thank you very much.